We begin with security matters, where Nigeria's Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, has assured that those behind what he described as senseless killings in Bokos local government area of Plateau State will face justice. Now, the IGP, speaking through the Deputy Inspector General of Police Force Operations, Zigu Kwazi, when he paid an official visit to Bokos, insists that everything possible will be done to ensure that the state is free of such violent attacks. News Central correspondent Chizoba Nyongwe completes this report.
Pain, agony, heartbreak, and hopelessness still describe the mood of victims of the 2nd April violent attacks on some communities in Bokos local government area of Plateau State. Synergy between the different security agencies has also been seen in their visits to the victims and affected communities. At a stakeholders' engagement with the locals who still wear a mourning look, Nigeria's Police Chief Olukayode Egbetokun assures justice in the tragic incident.
I am therefore here on behalf of the Inspector General of Police and the entire leadership of the force to not only commiserate with you, the grieving families and the affected communities, but to also bring to you the assurance of the Inspector General of Police that justice for these people that have been killed will not be denied.
IGP Egbetokun says measures have been put in place to forestall a reoccurrence.
The measures has already been put in place. A unit of mobile policemen has already arrived Bokos as directed by the Inspector General of Police. A platoon of the Special Intervention Squad has also arrived Bokos with the equipments combat ready to go after these bandits.
For these victims left to mourn their loved ones, here are their cries.
As I'm speaking to you now, I don't even know the whereabouts of my family up to now. I don't know where they are. Sometimes, you can see the criminal is walking around. Had it been government is taking a decisive action on this one, I think by now, maybe the criminals would have been reduced to a minimum, number.
Duka ga muna anan mutum ba lissafi kamar dabbobi muna roƙo gwamnati ta ɗauki mataki kamar wannan.
Each and every youth make sure he will work together with his own stakeholders. When their stakeholders give them advice, they need to comply with their stakeholders.
In the words of IGP Egbetokun, let this be a turning point, a call for unity, vigilance, and collective resolve to reject violence and build future peace for the generations yet unborn. In Bokos local government area of Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Nyongwe.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian police force says it has recorded major breakthroughs in Kaduna State, recovering 21 fabricated AK-47 rifles, neutralising 3 armed robbers, and rescuing 17 kidnapped victims in a single day as part of ongoing efforts to combat armed violence and insecurity across the country. According to the force headquarters, the operations align with the Inspector General of Police's strategic directive to combat violent crimes through intelligence-led policing. On April 9, 2025, a joint operation by the Kaduna State Anti-Kidnapping Unit and the Office of the National Security Advisor rescued 17 victims abducted over a month ago from Sarkin Pawa, Niger State. Force PRO Muyiwa Adejobi said that the rescue was carried out without any exchange of gunfire. The police says all rescued victims are stable and receiving medical attention while investigations continue into the trafficking network and armed gang activities.
Young children adopted on 3rd of March 2025 and were rescued. I think that's a month plus in captivity. How will you kidnap a toddler, young person of one year, 2 months, or 3 months? So it's for you to know that many of them are not just out to do kidnapping for ransom, but they are out just to destabilize the system. They are out there to just paint Nigeria unsafe, and for many other reasons that we can think of. We want to appeal to Nigerians to always work with security agencies to make sure that we expose these men of the underworld. They are not spirits. Any moment from now, we're handing them over to Niger State Command so that they can proceed and take them to Mina. Of course, reconcile them with their families. Like the same prototype of what we have been showing to you anytime we display some of these exhibits. You can see how neatly fabricated these rifles are. They manufacture them here, and like we said the other time, that we need to go after those who make these weapons illegally, because they sell them to wrong hands. Incidentally, based on the investigation so far, we are told that they sell this to some individuals, the same individuals as those that are kidnapping their people. So you make harms sent to enemies, enemies still use the same thing to harm you.
Still talking insecurity, the federal government, in collaboration with the Edo State government, have set up a fact-finding committee to look into the circumstances surrounding the recent killings of 16 canoe-bound travelers in Uromi, the administrative headquarters of Ison Northeast local government area. Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebolo disclosed this when he received a high-powered delegation from Kano State led by the Deputy Governor of the state, Comrade Aminu Abdulsalam Gwarzo, at the government house in Benin City. Okpebolo said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not happy over what happened in Uromi, and he is determined to ensure the state and nation are safe for everyone and everybody to live and do business. Governor Okpebolo and the delegation from Kano also visited Uromi, where they met with members of the Hausa community in the area. And let's tell you that the host communities of oil mining lease 25 in Kula, Akuku, Toru local government areas of Rivers State have expressed opposition to the resumption of oil exploration activities in the oil block without their involvement or consent. They're demanding that the concerns and interests be addressed before any further exploration or production activities take place. OML 25 was operated by Shell Petroleum Company and recently divested to the Renaissance Group amidst protracted disputes with host communities across the Niger Delta over negligence and environmental degradation accusations. The host communities of OML 25 are insisting that Shell Company must remediate polluted environment from its over 50 years of operation and leave a clean slate for the Renaissance Group before they will be allowed to resume exploration at the OML 25 domiciled in their community.
We have not seen any significant improvement from Shell. We have told Renaissance our experience with Shell, and that Shell have so much liabilities with us and several issues that have not been settled. The same thing applicable to other Niger Delta communities. The remediations they have not done. There are a lot of remediations work to be done. But now that Shell is going, we have told them we will not cooperate until those liabilities are accepted. They have agreed to discuss it further with government. They are not categorical on whether they are to carry out their liabilities or not, but we assure them if they will carry out those liabilities, we will definitely work with them.
As a youth president of this country and from this extraction, I will agitate before any operations or any engagement starts, the Rangers will engage with the community stakeholders and get employment from them before any engagement or any exploration starts. And that is me, as a youth president, I will say to Renenza. And that's where I will always clamor for. 67 years, you have taken oil from one people, Ukola people, that give you not less than 3 oil blocks, 24, 25, and even 72 and 74 in the Atlantic Ocean. You never employed one person in the region. And today, you have engaged us. If I'm lying, Shell should tell the world who they have employed in Kola community.
The recent Umel 25, which has been in contention for several years, these same people are the ones that have been mediating. And up till now, we've not seen a visible result. And today, we, the Kola people, are saying, we want Renaissance to give us an audience.
No fewer than 12 shops were destroyed in a late-night fire at the Mayegun Cement Store Market in Ibadan, Oyo State. And the blaze broke out around 10:55 p.m. Thursday at Block A, number 64, Araromi Agodi Gate, and raged for over 3 hours before it was contained. Eyewitnesses say the fire was triggered by an electrical surge near combustible materials. The Oyo State Fire Service confirmed the incident, with General Manager Yemi Akinyinka stating that the emergency call was received at 11:02 p.m. and firefighters quickly responded, containing the blaze and preventing further spread. While 12 shops were lost, property worth billions of naira was saved, and however, no casualties were reported and investigations into the exact cause are ongoing. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. It was a day of tributes and reflections in Lagos as dignitaries from across the country gathered at the Muson Center to celebrate the 97th posthumous birthday of elder statesman and Afenifere leader Chief Ayo Adebanjo. News Central's Israel Eferobo was there.
The atmosphere was one of deep respect and remembrance as political leaders, academics, civil society groups, and traditional rulers filled the Muson Center in Lagos to pay tribute to a man whose voice once echoed through the halls of Nigeria's democratic struggle, Chief Ayo Adebanjo. Delivering his keynote address titled "The Afenifere Nigeria Needs," senior advocate of Nigeria and human rights activist Solomon Asemota said there is need for Nigeria to continue the ideology of politicians from the First Republic.
We need to continue what Adebanjo, Awolowo, Zeke, all of them of the First Republic started, which was truncated by the military ignorantly.
We will bring Nigerians together. We will let the youths know their rights.
Themed Afenifere, Identity, Ideas and Ideology, the symposium explored the social-political philosophy championed by Chief Adebanjo and his dedication to Yoruba self-determination within our united Nigeria.
So today is essentially to properly introduce Afenifere to the Nigerian people, clear up whatever ambiguities that might have existed because of the effluxion of time.
When the leader has died, it means it's like a relay race. There's hand over to another person. Now that we have a new leader and a new time, the meeting here allowed us to think through all the issues we want to do next.
He was a very strong man. He was a very focused man. He's the last of the titans, the Awoists of our time, who believed passionately in a great Nigeria, in a robust Nigeria, in a fair Nigeria, in an equitable Nigeria.
Speakers took turns to highlight the values Chief Adebanjo lived by: truth, integrity, and an unrelenting pursuit for justice.
Adebanjo said no to so many things openly, and he was harassed, but he kept it. As it says that the truth will set you free. Adebanjo set an example. And as somebody remarked today, we are only following his example, and others will follow my own example. I think that's the situation.
This has given us the opportunity to know Afenifere, and some of the ideas they've tried to espouse today, we are in alignment with them.
As the nation continues to grapple with complex political realities, those in attendance believe the life and times of Chief Ayo Adebanjo stand as a beacon, reminding Nigerians of the power of ideology in shaping a more just society. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Ifirobo.
The Delta State government is paving a way for private investment into power generation exclusively handled by federal government in order to curb the unreliable supply of power across the state. The new legislation provides a legal framework for the state to independently regulate and attract private investment into power generation, transmission, and distribution. The Delta State Electricity Power Sector Bill 2024 is among the 7 bills that Governor Sheriff Oborewari signed into law at Government House, Asaba, Delta State capital. News Central correspondent Austin Azu reports that the governor also signed into law the Child Rights Amendment Law 2024, which clearly provides more safeguards for children.
I believe that with this bill that we accepted today, I know that this will improve our power sector because it is very key. You can't do any investment without power. So power is very key. And I will tell you today that we have the population and now the legal framework for investment to thrive. These bills that we have just accepted to will protect our vulnerable populations, improve quality of life, promote sustainable development and environmental protection, attract investment, and increase our IGR.
The federal government has predicted heavy rains and floods in 30 states and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. Now, the high flood risk states are Abia, Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, Gombe, Imo, Jigawa, Kebbi, Kogi, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Ondo, Osun, Oyo, Rivers, Sokoto, Taraba, Yobe, Zamfara, and the Federal Capital Territory. The Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Joseph Utsef, on Thursday said coastal and riverine flooding would be experienced in some parts of the South-South geopolitical zone of the country due to a rise in sea level. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has reduced the price of petrol at its gantry to 865 naira per litre. The refinery reduced the price of the product sold to oil marketers by 15 naira from the 880 naira per litre sold by the facility. The refinery had previously reduced its price to 815 naira per litre, its third reduction in 2025, despite the fall in crude oil prices to $59 per barrel on Wednesday. The cost of refining remains high due to increased costs of importing crude oil in dollars. The Nigerian Ports Economic Regulatory Agency bill is currently before President Bola Tinubu for presidential assent, having successfully scaled through the National Assembly. Now, the Executive Secretary and CEO of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Akuta Pius, disclosed this while speaking at the Council's 2025 operational retreat for middle management staff in Abeokuta. News Central's maritime correspondent was at the event and filed this report.
The transition from Nigerian Shippers Council to the Nigerian Port Economic Regulatory Agency, NIPERA, is a reflection of President Bola Tinubu's concerted effort to create a more structural and efficient port regulatory system in Nigeria, which underscores the importance of the maritime sector in Nigeria's development. The Executive Secretary and CEO of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Akuta Pius, speaking during the Council's mid-management retreat in preparedness for the transition to NIPERA, noted that the bill will establish a strong, independent regulatory regime with enforceable legal powers.
The transition from the Nigerian Shippers Council to the Nigerian Port Economic Regulatory Agency. You are all aware of the progress we are making in the bill that has been passed by the National Assembly, which is now before Mr. President for assent. This transition, when fully operational, would be an evolutionary case study in Nigeria's maritime and study regulatory framework and port regulatory framework. We are fully supported and encouraged by the Honorable Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, as I said, His Excellency Olugbóyèga Oyetola, in our Blue Economy journey. Our sister agencies are also supporting us fully in this regard.
On her part, the president of Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, SILT Nigeria, Mfong Unsoro, reiterated the need to have an economic regulator to manage fiscal regulatory issues. While delivering a paper titled Understanding the New Regulatory Environment, Regulatory Framework and Transition, Usoro expressed optimism that NIPERA would provide regulatory framework for effective and efficient economic regulation of port services, guard against arbitrariness and promote fair competition, while expressing her optimism on the preparedness of the workforce for this transition.
What has been self-evident is that they have interest, first of all. They have interest in learning. You can see some of them have really studied the bill and were able to contribute. They asked for volunteers for the panel. We had over 20. I've not seen a large panel like that. I think there were about 25 upwards coming in to form the panel, and each of them made very important contributions, that either identifying the challenges or seeing opportunities that arise from those challenges. Some already have skills in certain areas, but we all recognize that in transiting to an economic regulator, their scope, their role is wider than the current role now, and there is need, as has been identified already, there's need for more investment in training to acquire the skill that they need.
With Akuta's reassurance that the Nigerian Shippers Council would continue to work diligently for the maritime industry by reducing arbitrary charges, enhance stakeholders' engagement, and enhancing robust dispute resolutions, better days await this critical sector. In Abeokuta, for News Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
Nigeria's federal government says that it will commence the issuance of e-visas to foreign nationals visiting the country. Now, the initiative, which is a collaboration between the Ministries of Aviation and Interior, will also see the commencement of the utilization of the automated landing and exit cards for all travelers. Both ministers spoke to newsmen in Abuja, saying that this will improve border security and control, reduce corruption in the visa application process, remove bottlenecks during check-ins and exits for travelers, and open the nation's borders without compromising national security.
The Aviation Ministry and the Interior Ministry, from day one, we have decided to cooperate, to collaborate, and we have been doing this seamlessly. Today is another example of that kind of cooperation and collaboration, and this has to do with the introduction of the e-visa. But we have agreed with our agencies, Immigration, NCA, FAN, we have agreed to work tirelessly, smoothly on this new initiative. We have responsibilities under our belts, with this initiative, and we have agreed to cooperate fully. We have absolutely no objection to this very laudable program that is principally a program of the Ministry of Interior.
In the last couple of weeks, so many people on Interpol red notice list had been arrested in Nigeria. The e-visa will make it easier for people to come into Nigeria while enhancing the security of our country. Of course, applications will be online. There was a centralized visa approval center already at the immigration headquarters. Officers have been trained, well equipped, and solution integrated to all criminal record systems in the world, major ones in the world, Interpol and the rest. And of course, there will be better background check in terms of people coming into Nigeria. And of course, we're also looking at removing bottlenecks and also making sure people can get visas to Nigeria without lobbying anybody to come into Nigeria. We want to open our borders without compromising national security for people to come and explore the beauty of the land called Nigeria. So for us, as Ministry of Interior, we have our role to play. And most importantly, the Ministry of Aviation too has a major role to play as the coordinator and regulator of all airlines in coming in and out of Nigeria.
The news continues in South Africa, where civil organizations are raising serious concerns about the effectiveness of the country's justice system following the controversial acquittal of Nigerian pastor Timothy Omotosho. Omotosho walked free just weeks ago after being acquitted of all charges, including serious allegations of rape and human trafficking. His release has sparked outrage nationwide, leading to calls for accountability and reform within the justice system. News Central's Bongani Siziba has more.
Like other boys who are currently still being abused in the church, have the voice to come out and speak? Definitely not. Because why? Omotoso spent 8 years in jail. And 8 years later, he was found not guilty, he was acquitted. So what does that say to us, victims who were abused within the church? It shows us that justice in our country is a thing that is just spoken and written and signed upon as a model law, but nothing is being instituted to make sure that we are psychologically, mentally protected holistically. So the question is, am I next?
A conversation that has sparked outrage in South Africa, and the victims speaks out. This time around, they don't want to be silenced. Just a week ago, a Nigerian pastor, Timothy Omotoso, walked free, acquitted of all charges, including serious allegations of rape and trafficking. His release is raising grave concerns about the effectiveness of the justice system. Civil organizations, alongside the Commission for Gender Equality, are now urgently calling for a comprehensive inquiry into this case.
We're not convinced that justice was done in this matter. It is therefore imperative that we independently interrogate the gaps highlighted in the judgment and then recommend measures that must be introduced to ensure these do not similarly recur.
The question is, how safe are religious spaces where many young women have fallen victims to the so-called men of God? Another question is, are the victims of gender-based violence safe? Why are they not being adequately protected? There are also concerns about the police ability to analyze evidence and understand the complexities of the cases they handle. This could jeopardize the safety and justice of countless victims.
Are our police officers able to analyze documentary evidence? Does a flight ticket sent to a young girl in the Eastern Cape to come over to Mhlanga to join the church, is it meaningful to them? Do they understand the magnitude and weight of that as documentary evidence that can assist them in their case and in their investigation.
This pressing issue unfolds when women judges, together with other legal minds from across the globe, are gathered in Cape Town. Their mission to address gender-based violence and formulate strategies that will empower women and protect their rights under the law. As discussions continue and actions are taken, the question remains, will South Africa rise to protect its women and ensure justice prevails? In Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Now we head to East Africa, where the leader of Tanzania's opposition Chadema party, Tundu Lissu, remains under questioning after his arrest for inciting violence and opposing the upcoming general election. He faces charges related to his campaign for electoral reform under the slogan, "No reforms, no election." Lissu argues that the country's electoral commission, appointed by President Samia Suluhu Hassan, must be reformed for a fair election. Tanzania is set to hold elections in October, where Lissu plans to challenge President Suluhu. Now, the opposition leader, who survived an assassination attempt in 2017, has been arrested multiple times from his activism. Lissu's treason case is set for April 24.
2025 katika mtaa wa soko kuu wilaya ya Mbinga, jeshi la polisi lilimkamata mwenyekiti huyo wa Chadema kufuatia tuhuma zilizokuwa zinapelelezwa za kufanya uchochezi wa kutofanyika kwa uchaguzi mkuu wa 2025. Mtuhumiwa huyo anahojiwa na jeshi la polisi juu ya tuhuma hizo huko Dar es Salaam. Jeshi la polisi linatoa onyo kwa vyama vyote vya siasa kutotoa maneno ya uchochezi, kutotoa lugha ya kukashifu polisi au serikali, au kuonyesha viashiria vyovyote vya uvunjifu wa amani katika kipindi hiki cha kuelekea uchaguzi mkuu wa 20.
Mauritania's foreign minister says more than 100 bodies of African migrants have been discovered since January, highlighting the deadly toll of irregular migration through West Africa. Speaking during a visit to Mali's capital, Bamako, the minister blamed trafficking networks that lure migrants into dangerous journeys towards Europe. Mauritania has become a major transit point along the Atlantic route to the Canary Islands, one of the deadliest migration paths. However, many victims are believed to have drowned when overloaded boats capsized at sea. Authorities say efforts are underway to crack down on smugglers, but humanitarian groups are calling for greater regional cooperation and action to tackle the root causes driving migrants to risk their lives for a better future.
Pour l'année 2024 seulement, on a repêché sur nos propres côtes à nous plus de 500 cadavres de jeunes africains venant du Sénégal, de la Gambie, de Mauritanie, de la Guinée. Pour l'année 2025 seulement, depuis le 1er janvier 2025, plus de 100. Doit-on laisser les réseaux de trafiquants lancer notre jeunesse sur la rue de la mort? Non, on doit lutter contre ces réseaux de trafiquants de personnes, mais ensemble.
At least 15 civilians have been killed after Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces shelled a displaced persons camp in Darfur. The attack on Abu Souk camp and nearby Nefasha market also wounded 25. This comes as fighting intensifies around El Fasher, the last city in Darfur still under army control. Earlier, the RSF claimed it had captured Kadada, a key town on the road to El Fasher. The area's densely populated displacement camps have suffered heavily in nearly 2 years of war. Zamzam camp was the first to be declared famine-stricken. The RSF has increased its offensive in Darfur after losing Sudan's capital, Khartoum, last month. In Central Africa, with just 2 days to go until Gabon's presidential election, General Brice Oligui Nguema, the transitional leader and military chief, held his final rally in Libreville. Oligui, the favorite to become the first elected leader since the 2023 coup, has promised a historic victory against 7 challengers, including former Prime Minister Alain Claude Billy-Binze. Oligui, who is seeking a 7-year term, has worked to distance himself from his military background by engaging with younger voters through social media trends. Election results are expected to be announced by April 16.
La démocratie ne sera plus une promesse lointaine, une réalité vivante. Dans la 5e République, la décentralisation, la libre administration des collectivités locales sera effective. Dans la 5e République, la gouvernance sera efficiente et la corruption n'aura plus sa place.
Now away from Africa, China has implemented a new 125% tariff on U.S. imports set to take effect tomorrow in response to the ongoing trade dispute with the United States. According to Beijing, the U.S. tariffs are an unjustified violation of internal trade rules and basic economic principles, characterizing them as acts of unilateral bullying and coercion. The U.S. has placed a 145% tariff on some Chinese goods as part of the ongoing trade conflict. President Xi Jinping has urged the European Union to join China in opposing these U.S. sanctions, warning that no country benefits from a tariff war. However, the Chinese government has stated that it will not retaliate further against any additional tariffs imposed by the U.S. Similarly, Pedro Sanchez, the Prime Minister of Spain, emphasized the need for continued cooperation between the European Union and China despite the existing trade tensions during his visit to Beijing. After his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, Sanchez acknowledged the significant trade deficit both Spain and the EU face with China and called for efforts to address it. He stressed that these trade challenges should not hinder the potential for growth in the broader relationship between China and both Spain and the EU. Sanchez proposed a balanced approach that protects European interests while fostering deeper collaboration with China. His remarks align with Europe's ongoing strategy to maintain strong diplomatic and economic ties with Beijing across various sectors, including innovation and sustainable development.
Como Europa tenemos un importante déficit comercial con China que hay que trabajar por subsanar y que no debemos dejar que las tensiones comerciales se interpongan al potencial crecimiento de nuestra relación entre China y España y entre China y la Unión Europea.
In business, less than 24 hours after President Trump attempted to stabilize financial markets by reversing his trade war approach, U.S. stocks, bonds, and a dollar faced another significant sell-off amid recession fears. Now, the S&P 500 dropped 3.5% as investors capitalized on a previous rebound to sell-off. Long-term Treasury yields soared after a brief decline, and the dollar fell for the 3rd consecutive day as traders sought safe haven currencies like the Swiss franc. The ongoing trade war, characterized by chaotic tariff announcements, has severely undermined confidence in the U.S. economy, leading analysts to predict a looming bear market. With increasing volatility, many investors are pulling back from U.S. assets, favoring cash and gold amid rising concerns about inflation and economic stagnation. The UK economy grew by 0.5% month-on-month in February, surpassing expectations of 0.1% growth, according to official data released on Friday. Now, the surprise increase was driven by a 0.3% expansion in the services sector, which had previously grown by 0.1% in January. Production output rebounded significantly, increasing 1.5% compared to a 0.5% contraction in January, while construction output rose 0.4%, following a 0.3% decline. In response to the data, the British pound strengthened by 0.6% against the dollar. However, the UK faces uncertainty due to impending 10% tariffs on exports to the US, which could overshadow the positive economic news and influence the Bank of England's upcoming interest rate decisions. In the world of sports, Rivers Hoopers have secured their place in the 2025 Basketball Africa League playoffs with a 79-71 points victory over hosts FUS Rabat. Now, the Nigerian champions, now 3-1 in Kalahari Conference, overcame a three-quarter deficit to dominate the final stretch. Madut Ekek led with 17 points and 8 rebounds, while Kelvin Amayo impressed with 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. Peter Lisemeka posted a double-double, scoring 13 points and grabbing 12 rebounds. Rivers Hoopers are now set to join the continent's elite in South Africa for the main phase of the Basketball Africa League, marking a major achievement for Nigerian basketball. Well, that's all at this hour. But before we go, here's another look at some of our major stories. We told you that Inspector General of Police has assured justice for victims of Boko's killings. We also told you that federal government and Edo State have set up fact-finding committee over Oromi killings. Finally, you heard that opposition leader in Tanzania is facing treason charges over reform campaign. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Darshan Usman.